Hey guys, it's the History Nerd, and we are back with another exciting episode of Europa Universalis for Great England. Haha, there we go. I finally found it. We're close to the end date, but Great England is certainly going to be the name. So before I unpause, we're going to touch on a couple of things. British Mexico's kicking ass. I'm liking the amount of land that they've taken, and I am certainly going to reward my wonderful loyal colony with perhaps Texas. We'll find out, because there's some good land here. British Mexico occupied by me. This is all occupied by me. Well, isn't that wonderful? Navajo will definitely be going to New Spain, and I'm sure we can find a couple of other provinces to give them as well, because, hey, why not? The other thing that I want to do, well, I can freely think about this, and really, make sure I'm understanding what I'm doing, which is a rarity. Let's take a look at this trade node here in Panama, shall we? So we can see the Netherlands are dominating it, with Spain coming in second place and British Columbia coming in a measly third. We've got our merchant... Whoa! Apologies. We've got our merchant here, shifting trade up into the Caribbean. We don't need to do that. That's a waste of our merchant. Why, you ask? Surely someone needs to push trade from Panama into the Caribbean. No. You can see all the trade flowing in here, all three nodes, coming to Panama, and then it all gets crammed together into one that goes north. So, like, if we go into the detailed view, we can see Netherlands is using their trade power to transport money forward. The only people who are collecting are British Columbia and Dutch Peru, which makes sense. And British Mexico and... Okay, so it makes sense, the countries that are collecting there. What doesn't make sense is me wasting a merchant pushing it out. What does this mean? Well, what this means is we can finally get our act together into this trade zone if we wanted to. Voice is breaking there. Hope you all enjoy it. Or indeed, we could start using a merchant up in here. So, as you can see, Muscovy's pushing most of the trade out. We probably don't want to do that. So we could convince our merchant to push it, I don't know, down into Malacca, or collect there? Collecting there might, well, I mean, there is... Let's just see. Incoming is 10, local is 14, outgoing is negative 22. For a total of 2.7 that could be collected there, I believe is how you read that. We can see 91% of trade power is being pulled forward, or getting pushed out, however you want to think about it. Only 9% is staying, and that's because of Japan and Zhao. And we could take our 9% and add it to the trade power that stays there, but there's some negatives to collecting outside of your capital, and 9% compared to Muscovy's 61%, that ain't going to be worth it. So that perhaps is not the region we want to be throwing down a merchant. Now, we've got the Philippines trade node over here. We have a measly 1% trade power. Our merchant would get us a little bit more. We're not really doing anything there, are we? So let's see. We've got a merchant there. We got nothing around here. We got a little bit of trade power in this region, though. And we could use it to push, but what's the point? Because Portugal's pushing. What's going on here? We've got... hardly any trade power, and most of it is being pushed up this way. So what we could do is use our merchant to, convince the trade to go around and then, collect it as it comes out, up and around. And, well, probably not, because we're not doing anything in Western Europe. I don't know if we can put a merchant here, can we? We can. So that might not be a bad idea, since nothing is going to London from this zone. If we put a merchant there and a little bit of a fleet, that could work. Let's do that. So let's take our trade power out of Panama. We're going to transfer it there. And because we have indeed hit our ship cap, oh, look at that. We can build a hell of a lot more ships, which means we could get 34 light frigates and send them to Western Europe. Call it overkill if you want. That sounds like an interesting plan. We've got the money to do it. I'm going to mull that over, but we're definitely going to get our merchant set up there and then get a fleet in there. The size of the fleet is going to depend on a couple of factors. One, what I decide to throw at it. And two, how successful we can continue to be against the Spanish. Now, British Mexico has done a lot of good work here. And I shouldn't, just give the accolades to British Mexico. I'm sure Newfoundland is getting involved too. And probably British Columbia. Although I would suggest British Columbia, you might have bigger fish to fry than conquering lands that you won't be able to get. Just a thought. Let's see. Yeah, Castilian La Plata. So, the issue with the Spanish War, it's going incredibly well. Especially for a war with Spain. I'm thoroughly impressed with the success that we're able to pull off here. My only concern... Well, my concern's twofold. One, it's the amount of land that the Spanish have taken in my colonies. And two, it's the size of the army that's here. Now, granted... this should be sorted by alphabets. So let's find Spain, Scotland, Sicily, Spain. That's what I'm looking for. Infantry, cavalry, artillery, great. 2,000 manpower. So what this tells me is we need to be engaging this army here. We need to be engaging this army not necessarily with an army that's big enough to kill it, but with an army that's big enough to damage it. And I think the Royal Marines are just that army. They've got a leader. Right now they're sieging kind of pointlessly Caraco. And the thing is, these guys are taking attrition, so they're eating into that 2,000 manpower quite regularly. I'm not going to say quickly, but definitely regularly, without even being engaged. So if we start engaging these guys, that manpower pool, that's going to start taking a hit. And once that manpower pool starts taking a hit, we're looking golden. The Austrians, unfortunately, are out of the war, so they're not going to be helping out in New York anymore. I'm a bit let down by that, but we can see our glorious Holy Roman allies are indeed getting involved in Delaware. That's great. That's groovy. I likes it. Keep it up. So, the only concern is mainland Spain, but I figure the Holy Roman Empire will be able to take care of mainland Spain, provided France lets them through, and I don't know if France would. France certainly wouldn't let me through, but they might let the Empire through. Let's just see. Okay, they probably won't let the Empire through. Regardless, mainland Spain's only really the biggest concern, and even that isn't that big of a concern. I figure once we get the Royal Marines in, start retaking some of these provinces, that's going to get the attention of the Third Army over here. We can start weakening the Third Army, finish off taking up the lands that, we rightfully own, and getting that army down to nothing. Meanwhile, my colonies should be able to do something around here, though there are an awful lot of Spanish peasants rising up. And I'm of two minds about this. Granted, the Spanish peasants are taking land away from me, and I don't like that. But they're not necessarily bringing land to Spain. So perhaps, with this many rebels, we could get some sort of revolutionary nation formed. This is all conjecture. I don't know if the game would actually allow for it, but I'm thinking that that might be a case. So what we're going to do is we are going to pull our troops off of Caraco, which makes me a bit sad, but ultimately we don't need it, right? And Spain doesn't really need it. So, it's kind of a worthless province. We're going to go into Magdalena, which for a while was Spanish, and we're going to start reconquering these lands. Because we can at least right the ship that is British Columbia a bit. And then work on getting British Mexico back under proper control. Alright, so we're going to detach a siege and then just continue marching. These shouldn't have good fortresses because they're mine. And I haven't really been building fortresses, so go figure. In this case, it's actually paying off. The Lord of Austria wishes to enter royal marriage. Absolutely. Absolutely we will. Alright, keep going. Alright, that's taken two. That's a bit of a concern. Crowns often granted trading companies the exclusive rights to traffic goods in a region. These monopolies were granted in exchange for a lump sum payment and continuing revenues from the traders. So we can make a long-term investment which is going to get our trade efficiency going 15% and gain diplomatic power, or we could gain 2,931 ducats. I mean, obviously, the long term is going to be better, but man, it's tough to say no to 2 grand. If someone just walked up to you and was like, all right, here's the deal. I'm going to pay you a little bit of money for a decade, or I'm going to give you 2 grand now. Granted, the fact that it's a decade could play into it, and it depends on the sizes of money that they're going to be giving you. But, I don't know, and perhaps this is why I'm no good with money. But I would definitely take the 2 grand, and I'd just be like, there you go. Now, obviously, if it was something ridiculous like $500 a month for a decade, I would be stupid to take the 2 grand. There's no question about that. But if it was like, you know, $5 a month, now you got to ask yourself, what's worth it, right? Right? Give me the 2 grand. What else can we do? I mean, this fleet is kind of just sitting around doing nothing. We might as well move into the Gulf of Darien here and just see if we can't help out. We shouldn't take any attrition. We've got a couple of ports here, including the capital of British Columbia. So, I don't know. That should blockade some of them and just turn the screws a little tighter on Spain. I hope. I'd like to retake this, but, you know, that's not... It's not critical. Alright, so I'm just going to put this out here, British Mexico. I don't know where your military is. Is that all you have left? That can't be. $16,000 men, 3,000 cavalry, 12,000 artillery. Huh. It's not as big as I thought it was, that's for sure. I don't know where the rest of their troops are, though. They're certainly not all here. They must be attached to someone else. But, I mean, we got Newfoundland coming in, so hopefully Newfoundland can start. Alright, the Siege of Ida is complete. That is good. We definitely want to take that land. And like I say, I'm being just a little bit cautious around here, just to make sure that the Spanish don't have any sort of troops kicking around. Granted, they could have pulled them out of Spain and moved them to... Or Spain. They didn't pull them out of Spain. They could have pulled them out... Okay, so the Holy Roman Empire has made peace with Spain for a white peace. Seems kind of crazy. It might be time. It might be time to inquire. We're going to take Ida. Because we needed it. We're going to take Navajo. And then can we get like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yeah. We could get a large chunk of New Spain here. Now, it should either join British Mexico or form a new colonial nation. $123.7 aggressive expansion penalty. But it shouldn't, it should just become... Okay. That does seem a bit ridiculous. Oops. Let's be smart about this. Let's see if we can't just get some land for our colonies here. Alright, so all of these should... All of those should go to British Cuba. That should go to British Mexico. Man, I'd love to take those lands, but that's just not about to happen. What else can we take? There's really no other lands we can take. They don't have any colonies we could demand or anything like that, I don't think. No, those are definitely my lands. You're not getting those, Spain. But what we can also try and do here, because that's only 18%, and we're sitting at 41. That would be a very friendly peace treaty to give them. So you should revoke your core on Magdalena. There's no question about that. That's getting included. Return cores. And it would be nice to just have them return all of that land to the people they took it from. We could cancel the vassalizations. We could tell them to release Aragon, which kind of was my plan originally, but that is going to be... That's a big war. That's a big war. We'd have to be actually fighting in mainland Spain, and we're not set up to do that. We could get them to annul their treaties. I'd like to get them to annul their treaties with Portugal, really. And probably... Well, they got military access with Austria. I don't really care about that. Yeah, they're not about to do that, are you? Okay, that's fine. 50% of their trade power would be pretty nice, though. But instead, that's it, huh? That's all the money you got? And that's still a very generous peace offer. Okay, let's do this smartly. We'll just do that. So hopefully that goes and forms its own nation or becomes part of British Mexico. One of the two. Basically, I've got land here in North America that I don't want. I don't want more land in North America. And that's too much of a peace treaty or too much of a score or something. So we'll just knock down their payment to 196 ducats. I mean, we don't really need it, but what I'm going to do is send a nice little gift to the Holy Roman Empire since they didn't get anything. And that makes me feel a little sad for them. We don't really need the land down there, and that's just going to be annoying. And taking any of those, I mean, it's so far from the 5 colonies that it's not going to be that much of a help. All right, let's see what this does. Send the demand. The disputed succession of George has caused a pretender to raise an army and march for the capital. 4 regiments in Norfolk. The Royal Army will be able to take care of that without issue. Spain agreed to our wonderful peace treaty, thank you. Black news indeed, stability drop. So, with the signing of that peace treaty, our king dropped dead. And now George II Lancaster is ruling, and he has an 044. I don't like that. I would love to get some administrative points. That's not about to happen. We took a pretty big hit in diplomatic tech, but that's okay. Okay, and all that land did indeed join British Mexico. I'm feeling good about that. So I took a bit of an aggressive expansion penalty, but the land went exactly where I wanted it to British Mexico. And it looks like some of that land is actually going to be pretty profitable for them. So congratulations, guys. You're going to have to deal with all the Castilians sitting around in there. Don't ask me how you're going to pull that off, but you will. We're going to move those guys in because we need to do some work. And if I remember correctly, my mission is to get a claim on Ida. So if I get a core, that's better than getting a claim, right? Right. Let's unpause. New governor in 5 colonies. We will send a diplomatic candidate. Are any of my colonies getting close to revolting? No. No, they're really not. So that's, I mean, I appreciate that. Because, you know, I feel like it's nice if you're able to manage your empire appropriately. That isn't really the right word. Right, got to send a gift to them. But if you can manage your empire to the point where your colonies don't actually get pissed off by you, that's pretty nice. That that you can keep them basically in a commonwealth, and that is indeed what I refer. Economic actions. There we go. Send a gift. Oh, man, I don't know. There you go. Take a grand. Have fun with it. Austria, you were helpful too, man. We've got no diplomats to send. Well, Benjamin Raleigh will be back. What are we doing here? Improve relations with Scotland? I'm okay with that. Okay, trading in cocoa. Send a gift. We're going to send you a grand too, Austria, because you were great friends. You were very helpful in this fight against the dastardly Spanish, and we appreciate all of your assistance. When Great Britain does well, we remember our friends. And we've still, I mean, we've got an option to you know, sort of diplo-vassalize Scotland here, which, you know, it's not a bad idea to do that, and, you know, it's just we're not going to get to the point of being able to reconquer them. And I don't really care about that. What we do need... No, I was in the right view. We just need some of these. So that's what? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. That's an okay number. Why can't I build ships? Ah, that's why I can't build ships in Norfolk, of course. Where are my Royal Marines? They're spread out all over British Columbia. Let's get you guys back. And William Clive, you've done some great work. I need you to hop on one of those newfangled Insta ships. Get on over to London and take command of the Royal Army. Thank you very much. That was very quick of you. And just for the record, I may make a mockery of the instant deployment of generals, but I wouldn't have it any other way. It's so much easier that way. Let's get everybody into Cartagena, actually. I mean, really, basing these guys in Crete... I'm rethinking the home base of the Royal Marines, because basing them in Crete hasn't really given me the advantage in Europe that I thought it would. In fact, if anything, it's just, you know, made it a bit more dangerous to sail one of my larger armies out of the Mediterranean into, you know, the greater world beyond. So what I'm really thinking of is basing the Royal Marines out of Demerara, or Demerara? I don't... New England. There we go. I'm going to base the Royal Marines out of New England. And why not, right? What it might mean is a slight restructuring of the Royal Marine fleet. I can keep the 3-deckers and the transports, but all these archipelago frigates, I might just send those guys up into Crete just to be sort of like a protection fleet, a wooden wall of the Mediterranean, if you will, and you know, not fortify, but increase the offensive capabilities of the Royal Marines fleet at a later date. What have we got? Impulse warfare. Okay, we'll do it. The introduction of light infantry troops led to a change in warfare. Skirmishers were deployed forward in loose order to distract and harass the enemy before the main infantry attack, which was typically delivered in either a line or a column. So we've got a lot of military units that we can upgrade here. We've got our Napoleonic Square, a body of infantry formed in a close rectangular formation with cavalry and artillery within its sides. This formation was well suited against cavalry attacks, but naturally it didn't fare as well against artillery attacks. We've got our mixed order infantry, an infantry assault unit originally equipped with grenades and most often deployed in sieges. During the 18th century, the grenadiers Let me try this sentence again. During the 18th century, the grenadiers came to regard the bayonet as their preferred weapon of choice in favor of the grenades. Makes a bit more sense, although I'd still rather use a rifle than a bayonet. Jager infantry. In Germany in the 18th century, a new type of light infantry came into being called Jäger hunters. Jaeger were used for reconnaissance and skirmishing. At first, they were recruited from huntsmen, gamekeepers, and foresters. Most of them were excellent riflemen and were therefore often used as snipers, who could inflict great losses amongst enemy officers. Later, Jaeger became a generic name for all kinds of light infantry. Jaeger troops were often hired as mercenaries by other nations such as Great Britain, who used them in the American Revolution. and drill infantry. Drilled soldiers were soldiers that had been vigorously trained so that they would know exactly what to do in a battle situation. They were always less likely to break ranks whilst fighting against the enemy. An example would be the Prussian drilled soldiers. They were among the world's best trained and equipped soldiers at the time. They were very disciplined and well trained for nearly any situation. So good was their reputation that the American colonies asked for Prussian drill instructors to be sent to train the colonists so they could fight against the British. So we have quite a lot of choices. And I'm thinking mixed order looks the best. So going with the Grenadiers, right? They've got higher offensive fire. Defensive fire is a little weak. The offensive shock is on par with the Napoleonic square, but the offensive shock. The defensive shock's a little weak. Offensive morale and defensive morale. Yeah, you know what? Maybe we won't go. Honestly, the drill infantry is looking pretty good. I mean, 10-10, 7-7, 10-10. They can be used in any situation, and they're pretty good all around. So I hate to go with the drill infantry because it's probably the most boring of the choice, but I think it's the best of the choices that we've got. So now we got to pick our cavalry. Latin Lancers, the creme de la creme of the Napoleonic army. Although their lances made them less agile, these cavalry troops were formidable adversaries when charging their enemies directly. Or the Latin Chasseurs, mounted cavalry units specialized in skirmishes and renowned for their shooting skills. So I think we'll go with the creme de la creme. And then the flying battery, we don't have any other option. A strategy heavily focused on speed and mobility, the artillery would move to one point on the battlefield, lay their charges, and then quickly relocate to the next attack point in rapid succession. Sounds crazy. I guess that's it. That's what we got. So I don't know how much further the tech tree goes, but it can't go much further than 30, I don't believe. Obviously, you know, getting the rifle is going to be pretty groovy. But I mean, we're good. We're good there. Yeah, we're good. All right. I would assume you guys are getting in there. Perfect. We are going to create a new unit strictly of those guys. Actually, just for, you know, ease of me, we'll do that. Select the Med Fleet and send them to Crete. Hope your archipelago frigates are able to handle the Atlantic. I see the route you're taking. It frustrates me, but not enough to change it. And this will be the American fleet. Wonderful. And we'll figure out what to do with the American fleet and the Royal Marines a bit later. For now, though, our trade ships are not done. France has declared war on Burgundy. It's about time. Burgundy's been kicking around for a very long time, France, and I'm a little disappointed. A little disappointed in the big blue blob. Sure, they blobbed out east, but how's that going for you now? Not well. You should have focused on Burgundy. And then maybe you'd have a better stake in the New World than just a couple of swamp lands and, you know... Well, tobacco and fish is well, actually, tobacco and gold is better than tobacco and fish. But those aren't bad, it's just not big. Not as big as France's potential, if you will. Especially considering Great Britain has been doing nothing. You're kind of stuck, huh? Well, I'm sure you'll make it. Naval supplies, that's okay. Yeah. You know, France didn't have their traditional enemy of Great Britain really in this game. And even still, they haven't been all that successful. So, you know, I guess poor them. If you want to feel bad for the French, go right ahead. Well, let me also work on this diplomacy a bit. Yeah, we'll get a royal marriage with you. And then, I mean, we should be getting close to being able to vassalize. Yay! But we got Christopher Benbow there, still working on relations with him. And I guess, yeah, well, we could throw money at them if we had to. All right, we got you set. You guys are our Western Trade Fleet. That'll fit. Perfect. Close out of that. Go back. Name change went, and we are going to go for Western Europe. Currently dominated by the Dutch, but that's okay. I'm not planning on dominating this trade zone, but I certainly am planning on pulling out 6 ducats. That's really not anything. Algiers is third. That is interesting. So yeah, we're never going to get up to the 1,000 trade power that the Dutch are able to throw in. But we got a little bit, and every little bit counts. And if we have to, we can always add more ships to that trade node. That's not going to be a problem. What I should think of doing now, though, and especially since I've got the room to spare, what do we got? The Enlightenment. Do we want to get to enlightened despotism? I don't think so. Constitutional monarchy is treating us just fine. But it will allow us to get our last idea group. And considering the time, I would have assumed that we would have had quite a few more of these unlocked that we do. We're going to have to go with naval ideas because it's Britain. Why not? Granted, our national ideas are probably covering us there, but as you can see, we've only got 3 out of our, 8? Well, that ain't good, is it? At least now we can dump in to quantity and defensive ideas without issue. And that's really about it at the moment. We still need to research administration and diplomatic techs. So, that's just something to keep in mind. I'm impressed with my 2 continental allies. They're certainly not colonial. And speaking of colonial allies, the Iroquois have been doing okay by me. I just wish, with them being a protectorate of mine, I wish there was a way. I mean, they're Catholic. Why can't I influence them to be Anglican? That would be the last little thing that I would look for. Is the ability to just, sort of really work on the finer points of your colonial nations. Because, I mean, I think, for example, British Cuba, they're still Catholic. And that bothers me. They should be Anglican, damn it. They were colonized by me. Anyway. Minor quibbles. Ida's coming along nicely. It would have been nice to get some more land out of there, but I prefer getting British Mexico to be bigger. And I really would have liked to get Mescalero there into New Spain, but the rebels prevented that, and that's okay. I'm sure there'll be another war with the Spanish at some point. Because, I mean, if there's been one enemy of mine throughout the entire game, really, it's been the damn Iberian Peninsula. And if it isn't Spain, it's Portugal, so... The bourgeoisie requests privileges. The bourgeoisie class has grown increasingly resentful of the power of the noble families, and particularly their lack of opportunities in the higher ranks of government. Their only route into power is to marry into poor but well-titled noble families or pry open positions in government circles. I mean, I couldn't, have a third one where it's like, into the army, and I lose 50 army. We'll grant them. This makes it frustrating because there's not really that many buildings we can build. We could get some workshops in, counting houses. Yeah, a counting house there might not be a bad idea. What about a treasury? Yeah, we can still milk some money out, can't we? Okay, well, definitely a treasury here in Essex. That would be good. And maybe Yorkshire as well. And then let's go ahead and check our colonies, because I imagine, places like this location here, they could probably use some buildings. Yeah, they could. So let's get a temple up. And then let's investigate our only land in North America. Yeah, we should get some temples built here just to get a little bit more money out of them. These are very underdeveloped, little tiny fringes of the empire. I'm really not sure why those didn't go to Newfoundland. Let's see. Losing 5 prestige. I don't want to do that. Our legitimacy is tanked. George, you better figure that out. Thankfully, the only revolution we had were 4,000 men. I don't know why they thought that would actually work, but they did. Hausa? You're at war with Mali? Okay. Let's see, you're still a Spanish... Oh, you're a protectorate of Portugal. Oh, Oyo is my protectorate. Right, well, we should extend this to Hausa then, and then possibly into Kanem Bornu as well. Let's get some diplomats working on that. Well, they're too technologically advanced. Well, that's a pain, isn't it? Well, we could still get them on our side. They don't really like us, though. Neither of them do. And Mali's not a fan of us either, and unfortunately they're under Portuguese protection. And I'm not saying that I couldn't win a war against the Portuguese, but I don't know. At this stage, it just doesn't seem like the right thing to do. Can we get some buildings up here? We certainly could. We might as well get a temple going. And, yeah, poor old Australia here. Totally forgotten about. All of these colonies really have been totally forgotten about. Just, yeah, I mean, you know, it is what it is. And it's where I really appreciate the New World and the way colonial nations work. I would like to see that spread to every region that isn't Europe. And I know they're working on kind of that idea with the company zones, or whatever they're going to be called with the new expansion pack. So basically, it seems like, to me anyway, they're taking the ideas of colonial nations, giving them a bit of a new name, perhaps slightly different ways of working. Granted, I haven't read into it, and then, too much anyway, and then shifting that idea over into Asia, which is going to be pretty cool. And I don't know if it's just around the sea zones in Asia. All right, let's pause this. As we'll recall him, it shouldn't take him too long to come back. 130, what do you say? So we need to raise this up by about 25 points. And I mean, yeah, 25 is the highest we can raise it, so we'll do that. And then Revolt in Ida. Well, that shouldn't be that difficult to worry about. Alright, so I gave them their gift. And they still... It's that damn base tax. So, I don't know if that's because I'm not developed enough. That might very well be it, judging by the size of Lothian here, compared to perhaps London. Let's see, 18, 7, 4, 4, 4, 2. So, I mean, I don't understand how that base tax thingy works. Granted, that is my own fault for being ignorant of systems in the game. But if you've seen me play any video games, you know that I stay pretty ignorant about systems most of the time. It is what it is. Anyway, I think this, you know, what can we need to get... What I'll do is I'll lay down the foundations of the American fleet here. And we got shipyards all over the place, don't we? Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that'll give us 10 heavy ships, right? Yeah, which should be, I mean, that should be good. And then if I go 8 light ships, that'll give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 light ships should get us up to 10 light ships. So that'll be 10 heavies and 10 lights. Seems like a fairly decent fleet for the American regions. Portugal and Spain, they pretty much own all of that. Except, of course, for Japan, who owns my Hawaii. But we do have Wake Island. So, you know, we got something. We got something in the Pacific, and that's all that matters. All right, guys, that seems like a very good place to leave the video, because I'm just going around the world taking a look at things. And while that might be interesting, I don't really know how interesting it would be. Anyway, thumbs up if you have enjoyed this video. Leave your comments, questions, concerns, thoughts, jokes, musings, what have you below. Thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.